Last night, air raid sirens went off in Bahrain, not once, over and over, all night. And this morning, the President of the United States said 3 words that moved the entire global oil market in minutes.
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people.
The ceasefire between America and Iran is dead, and it died over 3 ships. Let me explain what actually happened. This is the Strait of Hormuz, a stretch of water so narrow that roughly a fifth of the world's oil has to squeeze through it. Whoever controls this choke point has a hand on the world's fuel line. On Tuesday, Iran fired on 3 commercial vessels near the strait in Oman's territorial waters, including Qatari and Saudi tankers. Why? Because Tehran had declared that ships must get permission to pass through the strait along routes approved by Iranian officials, and it warned against using the route closer to the Omani coast. Think about what that means. Iran basically said, this international waterway now runs on our rules, ask permission or get shot at. One Qatari tanker reportedly got attacked after, quote, ignoring repeated warnings. That's the spark. Now here's the gasoline. At that exact moment, Trump was in Ankara, Turkey, at the NATO summit, a summit that was supposed to be about defense spending and Ukraine. Instead, Trump left a dinner hosted by Turkish President Erdogan and shortly after ordered a series of strikes on Iran, and he revoked the license that had allowed Tehran to sell its oil on the world market. The move surprised the NATO leaders he was meeting with. So overnight, the US launched what it called powerful strikes against Iran. A US official called it a direct result of, quote, acts of international terrorism perpetrated by Iran against ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran hit back immediately. Iran's army launched a drone attack on Bahrain's Isa airbase, which hosts US forces. Iran claims it targeted 85 military installations in Bahrain and Kuwait. That's why the sirens. That's why Egypt, Qatar, Jordan, and Kuwait all came out condemning Iran's repeated attacks. Strike, counter-strike, in less than 24 hours. Then Wednesday morning, Trump faced the press.
There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. And I deal with these guys and I say, this is from a different school. They're liars. They're cheats. They're sick people.
He said negotiations would technically continue, but he called them a waste of time. And markets reacted instantly. Oil surged nearly 6%. Brent crude jumped past $78 a barrel. That sounds abstract. So here's the translation. Everything you buy that moves on a truck, a ship, or a plane just got more expensive to deliver. This is how a war on the other side of the planet ends up in your grocery bill. And here's the detail most headlines skip. Prices had actually calmed down, falling from spikes above $100 back to pre-war levels. The ceasefire was working. The market believed in it. And in one night, that trust got wiped. Now why is Iran acting like this? Here's the context you need. Iran is a country in mourning and in transition at the same time. This week, crowds filled the streets of Najaf in Iraq for the funeral of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, killed during this war. Before his burial in Iran, the man who ruled Iran for over 3 decades is gone, and a wounded state with new leadership has something to prove to its enemies and to its own people. Meanwhile, Iran's naval commanders are openly daring the US, quote, if you have the courage, come, while admitting they're behind in technology. That's not the language of a country planning to back down. That's the language of a country that thinks looking weak is more dangerous than fighting. And on the other side, NATO's Secretary General called the US strikes, quote, absolutely necessary. So Trump isn't isolated here. Trump himself said he's been #1 on Iran's hit list for years, and that his luck might run out. This is personal for everyone involved. That's what makes it unpredictable. So here's my honest read on this. Notice the wording. Trump said the deal is over, but talks can continue. Iran attacked ships, but didn't officially claim it. Both sides keep leaving themselves a back door. This is how modern conflict works. Maximum noise in public, quiet exits kept open in private. The real question isn't whether these two hate each other. It's whether this strait, this thin line of water, stays open, because the day it fully closes is the day this stops being a regional war and becomes everyone's problem. I'll keep tracking this. If something major shifts, the next video is already in production. Subscribe if you want the explanation, not just the headline.